South Korea, like many other countries, has its fair share of notorious serial killers. Here are three of the most infamous. Yoo Young-chul. Yoo Young-chul, also known as the Raincoat Killer, was a South Korean serial killer who killed at least 20 people between 2003 and 2004. Born in 1970, Yoo grew up in a dysfunctional family and was known to be a loner. In his early adulthood, he worked as a taxi driver and a factory worker. He started killing in September 2003, targeting wealthy elderly people in their homes. He would bludgeon them to death with a hammer and then rob them. Yoo's murders escalated in brutality, and he began targeting women and children as well. He killed his victims in various ways, including strangling, stabbing, and dismembering. He was eventually caught in July 2004, when he attempted to dispose of a victim's body in a public toilet. During his trial, Yoo showed no remorse for his actions and even boasted about them. He was found guilty of 20 murders and sentenced to death. His case caused widespread outrage in South Korea, and the government temporarily lifted its moratorium on the death penalty to execute him in 2005. Kong Ho-sun. Kong Ho-sun, also known as the Korean Ripper, was a South Korean serial killer who killed at least 9 people between 2004 and 2009. Born in 1967, Kong grew up in poverty and dropped out of high school. He worked as a manual laborer and was known to be a heavy drinker. Kang's victims were mainly women working in the sex industry. He would pick them up in his car, take them to a secluded location, and then rape and murder them. He was known for his extreme brutality, often mutilating his victims' bodies after killing them. Kong was eventually caught in 2009. After one of his victims survived and identified him to the police. During his trial, he showed no remorse for his actions and even requested the death penalty. He was found guilty of 9 murders and sentenced to death in 2010. Lee Chun-jae. Lee Chun-jae is a South Korean serial killer, who has been linked to at least 15 murders between 1986 and 1994. Born in 1963, Lee grew up in a wealthy family and was known to be a troublemaker in school. He dropped out of high school and worked as a construction worker and a delivery man. Lee's victims were mainly women, and he would rape and murder them in various locations, including parks, restrooms, and their own homes. He was known for his extreme violence, and would often mutilate his victims' bodies after killing them. Lee was initially arrested in 1994 for a separate crime, and confessed to several of the murders during questioning. However, he later recanted his confession and claimed he was coerced by the police. He was eventually released due to a lack of evidence. In 2019, Lee was finally identified through DNA evidence as the perpetrator of one of the murders. He subsequently confessed to that murder and several others. As of 2021, he is still awaiting trial for the other murders he has been linked to. In conclusion, the stories of Yoo Young-chul, Kong Ho-sun, and Lee Chun-jae are chilling reminders of the horrific crimes that some people are capable of. While their motives and backgrounds differ, they all committed heinous acts of violence that have left lasting scars on their victims' families and